Hi guys, if you are not willing to spend the time in reading what I've gathered about UTMB on my website dominte88.com, this is specially for you to just hear it. So here it goes, the story that is published on the source mentioned. So the UTMB, or Ultra Trail du Mont Blanc to be more specific, is widely regarded as the most important trail running event in the world. Probably one of the most important running events altogether. But since trail hits different than asphalt plain marathons such as Abbott Big 7 now, with Sydney included on the list, we will stick to its unicity at niche level. I am speaking about the UTMB, of course. I've wrote some technical details in 2023, you can find the link in the article of course, but 2 years later I can write much more and much accurate because I really felt it, the event itself. Not by running, because I was not successful in securing a spot at OCC, the 57 kilometers race, which this year had 61 actually, between Orsières and Chamonix. It is hard to obtain one, and I knew from the beginning my chances are slim for 2025. But decided to go anyway, so the experience was more one of a reporter. Which was kind of good in the end, because being at such a major event and not having the adrenaline pumping for the race to come, it cleared my mind and relaxed my senses to observe deeply the emotions around. It was amusing to spot the favorite from the 15 kilometers race, for example, held in Courmayeur, this race, on the other side of the mighty Mont Blanc tunnel, one of the key infrastructure works in the whole Europe. So we are talking about Madalina Florea, probably the best female for short trail running distances around the world, or one of the best, who took advantage of the 10-minute start delay and pulling someone out of the toilet, so she made sure everything was in place for the eventually crushing 1 hours and 30 minutes clear win. 2+ minutes course record. But the most interesting witnessing was Jim Walmsley's fabulous win in the race I just wanted to attend. I just couldn't. When you hear about his name, many trail running fans know he's the first and only male American winner of UTMB in 2023 with a course record of 19 hours and 37 minutes. For 170 kilometers plus and almost 10,000 meters of ascent. You bet that it is a huge thing, and it is. Back then, Jim conquered a long-lasting dream, while on the course he ranked once 5th and once 4th. Going back in 2025 now, he decided not to take the long race because of other projects he has by the end of the year, which couldn't cope with the energy drainage at the magnitude UTMB claims. So he switched to the shortest UTMB World Series Finals race, as said, OCC. Naturally, the 35 years old was the clear favorite, so he led most of the race. But at some point, not long before finish, he was surpassed by the 41-year-old Christian Minoggio of Italy. This wouldn't be a surprise alone, but the Italian increased the gap to almost 3 minutes as things passed by. Then, as Walmsley would say after the race, we are having too much fun, and picked up the pace. Honestly, I couldn't anticipate the outcome, but Jim did pick up the 3 minutes gap and surpassed easily the opponent with a final lead of 20 seconds. Not too much, but given the position he was in maybe 10 kilometers before finish, the recovery was world class indeed. I was running scared for the last part. Was also clear statement immediately after his pulse was taken after the race. Pulse meaning the final interview, the first interview after the race. Oh man, I can relate more to this approach because I have a half amusing expression myself which basically signifies the same thing. Running with fear. It applies for the last kilometers depending on the race, but because of different reasons, not to be surpassed or to finish in a certain time. Of course, Walmsley's concerns were different and they can be only perceived by people who actually run to win. But in the end, the message is the same and the sensation most likely very similar. When you run scared, you just push the pedal over the limit to be sure you are achieving your objective. Sometimes you can't. Maybe in many cases you fail even. But for Walmsley, what happened then? Why did he lost the lead, you might wonder, because it wasn't for a long time. The reason behind the final struggle looks simple, but actually quite ridiculous for UTMB itself. There was no still water and I was surprised and bothered, said Jim, straight without coverage at the final interview. There were other cold drinks such as cola, isotonics, sparkling water, etc. But the basic was not there. Such a basic need for the most popular trail runner of the moment, but a huge game changer could have been. For the spectators, the incident brought a delicious finish, hardly being able to be captured live. But at least in the main square there was a huge screen where you had a second chance to see him passing the finish line. Walmsley does it again 2 years apart after 2024 abandon from UTMB, but now he wins the little sibling of the main event. I am dedicating so much time writing about this because it was the main finish I have witnessed and tasted live in Chamonix. But things got picked up more and more as Friday 29th of August was approaching. Being in the town from 25th of August, we could see the tension increasing. A quiet Monday, then a lazy Tuesday started to switch to nervousness. Most people are coming for the UTMB. Many come also for CCC, a 100 kilometer race from Courmayeur to Chamonix. Virtually bit more than half of the main event. Both of them are scheduled for 29th of August. One in the morning at 9 a.m., the big one at 17:45. The town is getting more crowded, but the nights are heavy, even they're very live, to quote the famous song, Because regardless of who you are, running 100 kilometers or 100 miles is not an easy task. Not in any way. People have mixed feelings, of course. The weather forecast is not very encouraging, but in the mountains, especially here in the Alps, they can switch from 1 hour to another. Even people who accompany runners feel the stress, the anxiety. The atmosphere is not bad, but it transpires a kind of fear or of unknown, of a challenge. My partner has some stomach problems, he's nervous. A Spanish lady who shared the hotel with us tells me. Alex, a Romanian guy who spots my t-shirt with 2x2 race, tells me I foresee a finish between 29 and 32 hours, depending on several factors. I like people who put their confidence in numbers because that shows accountability and self-awareness. He's relaxed, or he seems so. The big day is coming for most of them. Who will win? To me, this is simple. The guy and girl who spend the most time training for the event at spot. There are runners who stayed months or years in France to get accustomed with UTMB, Jim Walmsley included. Before continuing though to pulse out the UTMB atmosphere, I'll comment the other race, CCC, the favorite Francesco Pupi, an Italian guy, more accustomed with shorter races, OCC style, but he means business from the beginning. I follow him on Strava and know he was committed to win. In the end, he does it in slightly more than 10 hours. Jim Walmsley did it in 5 hours and 35 seconds, an average pace of 5 minutes per kilometer. Pupi clocked an average slight more than 6 minutes per kilometer, but with almost 40 kilometers more. I'm not talking about gradient adjusted pace like you have on Strava for uneven terrain adjustment. But about the rough pace, both are Hoka sponsor runners, so the main sponsor of the event itself, UTMB, should be really happy to share with them a significant portion of the 200k euro prize money they allegedly provided for all races, or so I have understood. I followed Pupi's achievements straight from the Munich airport as we were about to depart back home. It is incredible what kind of media coverage this event has. Now, being in such a place with all the trail running legends is indeed special. It is a feeling very similar to the one lived at Paris 2024 Summer Olympics. Sure, it is at a smaller scale, but also a more personal sentiment, as trail running is something I'm generally more passionate about in recent years. And Chamonix is totally opposite compared to mighty Paris, at least for its size, but hey, Paris doesn't have Mont Blanc and that evens the gap. Chamonix Mont Blanc, to use the bragging full name, is indeed a place to feel like home, especially in the period of UTMB. I guess end of August is the perfect time of the year, or it should. Otherwise, I'm sure UTMB would have happened at another stage of the year. But no, this is it. You see fit people, no loud voices, no exaggerating in drinking or smoking, no bragging with expensive stuff, even though participating in UTMB you can be many things but not poor. It is mostly an adventure, not a sport, as a friend would say. And apart from a few who get sponsorships for different reasons, most people are participating on their full expense. People behave humble, but you can see them having a lot of good taste as a life approach. It fits Chamonix perfectly. Even if it is not a cheap place, everything matches what it offers. For example, Josephine restaurant from the town center. We ate there 3 times because we liked it so much. The veal liver medium rare was not only great tasting but so nutritious that I didn't need food for the next morning 2 hours apart. Neither could I have the second portion the second night, but I did got some vegetables and fries, great portions both in size and taste. The serving instant because of a lot of stuff involved, and take into account that in the last week of August, mine the UTMB event in the center of Chamonix, most likely more than 20,000 people come at least once. This means more than double the size of the local population. Nothing to complain about. Apart from this one, we tried only the restaurant of our hotel, Like. It was decent, but not as good. Instead, the hotel, a perfect experience for Chamonix. Next to the train station and at the entrance to the town center, not only it has a great breakfast and you can book a great balcony view to Mont Blanc, which we actually did and enjoyed, but they also have a generous spa region with swimming pool, jacuzzi, both outdoor and indoor, and of course 2 saunas. For recovery and relaxing, these are 2 gems. We stayed only 4 nights, but for sure we'll take it in consideration for a longer stay in the future. What about other things to do in Chamonix? Well, not a touristic recommendation writing now, so not a lot of details, but for sure you should consider climbing by cable car to Aiguille du Midi. It really has a story and it takes you to up 3,800 meters, and also the Montanvers train and cable car to the Glacier Cave. Getting back to the core subject, UTMB, I've had only another recommendation to make, and that is Chamonix. You can argue that a good ice cream works magic after effort, but not only. Saw a lot of runners enjoying ice cream, many sitting where huge queues were. Not to blame, this is how things work usually. The more, the tastier. We try different approaches often because we don't like any kind of queue. And this is how we found this deserted place, but a great ice cream. Then should consider it 100%. This time back to running, or more specific to the atmosphere. On 29th of August in the morning, the weather cleared, so we enjoyed some more hours enjoying Mont Blanc. We knew the core action will catch us in midair. The anthem, the start, everything. At 17:45 local time, the Queen race commenced. UTMB, an event for which many people live for an entire year. And exactly like for a marathon, everything can be shattered in a blink of an eye. Without the likes of Kilian Jornet or Jim Walmsley at the start, also without the surprisingly winner from last year, Vincent Bouillard, the event still lined a lot of mighty runners. Courtney Walter, 3-time winner, François Danet, 4-time winner, Ludovic Pommeret, 2016 winner and still going strong at 50 years. He will eventually finish the UTMB 2025 race in 6th place, just as an important conclusion. Also Tom Evans and Ben Deeman, in my view, the favorites. For Ben, I am a bit subjective because I've witnessed his win in 2024 at Mute or Madeira Island Ultra Trail. Ruth Croft and so on. The first and only start from Chamonix happens exactly after our departure, but the tension peak was already long consumed. A kind of mild fear can be sensed in the air from the breakfast. At the end, everything will be a great story to tell, regardless of the experience. But at the beginning, we all know how hard things look like. A bit of track running to feel the air from Chamonix. So my last 2 cents for testing the hardness of the event is to do some track running on the Chamonix Stadium. In the end, I can express better on flat surfaces. It was not chosen, it just happened. I am enjoying the presence of my wife Anka, who is recovering her muscles after the tough ETC race. There is perfect, but you feel the 1035 meters altitude in the lungs. At least I do. So I can't help myself imagining how beautiful it should be to go at 200 meters above, where the race takes you. It is a tough I'm caring for my future. Now I know the departure awaits and the race results will be announced long after I will wake up after the sleep. Fast forward, the output seemed obvious. Tom Evans break the rhythm and headed as winner. Ben Deeman looked to secure 2nd place, but Josh Wade was pushing. In the end, the classification stayed as described and the first 2 made it finally after 2 years in a row, abandoning the race. Everything is worth it. The image of Evans drinking some champagne from his hookah, actually it was Red Bull, not champagne, sorry, should become iconic. He finally makes it. In fact, last year the ranking looked similar at a point, but Jim Walmsley led the 2. Unfortunately, all 3 called the race off. This year all are winners, including Ben, because regardless how much you want to win UTMB, it is pretty complicated for everybody to do it, given the huge volume of high-value train runners. A top 10 is decent, let alone a top 5. The event continues, but the winners are known. The 3-time woman hero winner Courtney Dauwalter offers a proof of resilience by finishing the race in 10th place. Woman even suffering a lot. Take into account she led a big part of the race. Ruth Croft from New Zealand made it and won. The podium was completed by Camille Brias from France and Katharina Hartmut from Germany. The winners are known. Top 10 from both men and women are long arrived, but for many hundreds of competitors, a whole night awaits. In 2024, more than 1,000 abandoned. I don't like this. My guess is that many push to the limit the 100k race, allowing them to qualify. So a 100k race can be labeled one of 69, for example. Let's take the example of Restonica, the exact case presented here. Indeed, in 2025, that changed to 50k, but the race shortened because of weather. Even so, in theory, you can run 60-something kilometers and qualify for a 170-kilometer race. I'm not saying all do this, but 1,000 did not finish is a huge number, regardless of how we put it. In the end, That is just a personal opinion, bred by running experience. Maybe I'm a bit jealous, who knows? It is always easy to talk from the side, especially when you didn't participate yet in the event as a runner, but some hunches don't lie. Maybe I'll update the story in the future with a personal deep experience. Until then, for sure, I'll follow the event until its end. And remember all the atmosphere from Chamonix. In the end, Chamonix is the first host of the Winter Olympic Games in 1904, 101 years ago. A true pole of sports, not only in Europe, but for the whole world in the end. At the point, I am sure I'll be running scared at UTMB. I just need to pick the reason for that. So guys, thank you for listening and we will keep in touch.